Former WWE wrestler Ludvig Borga lived a life so outrageous, strange and bizarre that it's hard to believe at first glance. He was a successful wrestler, bodybuilder, UFC fighter, actor, writer and musician before he got elected into the parliament in Finland. He seemingly lived 1,000 lives. While this is impressive on the surface, everything that glitters isn't always gold, and Ludvig Borga's life was a testament to that. Throughout his life, he had many addictions, mental illnesses, deplorable views, troubles with the law, countless controversies, and above all, bottomless rage. Ultimately, that rage would be his undoing as he turned it inward and brought about his tragic end. Join us today as we delve deep into the Helsinki Hellraiser's turbulent and extreme life. This is the self-destruction of Ludvig Borga.
He was like a Nazi, he was like, didn't like the blacks, didn't like...
so you may not have liked French people?
Yeah, maybe so.
Entinen kansanedustaja ja nyrkkeilijä Toni Halme on kuollut.
On January 6, 1963, Ludvig Borga was born as Tony Christian Halm in Helsinki, Finland. Borga's boyhood in the capital city of his country was not very cheerful though. His mother raised him and his older brother alone because his father left the family when he was just 6 months old, saying that he was just going to get some cigarettes. Borga was practically raised by his older brother who was 5 years older than him because his mother became an alcoholic, often neglecting the upbringing of her children. She also had a steady stream of male lovers during his formative years, which wasn't very helpful to the young man. Borga's relationship with his father was very strained as he had very few conversations with his father throughout his life. His hardscrabble upbringing could best be characterized as turbulent due to the family's frequent moves. Due to all the turmoil going on at home, he performed very badly at school. Ludvig was more interested in rebellious activities, such as prowling the streets and engaging in civil disobedience with his gang, or shooting passing buses with air weapons from his bedroom window. On top of all of this, he was also teased and bullied at school, and that affected him through adulthood. Later on in life, it was claimed that Borga's only real empathy was for kids, particularly those who had experienced abuse. Due to his toxic home environment, Ludvig left his mother's home and moved in with his uncle after turning 16. This was the turning point in his late teens when his life and perspective started to drastically shift. Growing up, he was constantly active and participated in a variety of sports, such as ice hockey and football. He became interested in weightlifting as his body matured, and he won several bodybuilding competitions in Finland. Borga proved to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. He took on a variety of odd jobs and eventually joined the Finnish military, which he left to work as a bouncer. Feared and well known across the city, he constantly engaged in physical confrontations with rowdy customers. In addition to this, he used boxing as a way to release some of the anger he carried from his rough childhood. Borga was enamored with American culture since he was a teen when he watched the film Taxi Driver, and he wanted to move to America one day. And so in the 1980s as a young adult, Borga packed up his bags to chase the American dream. He arrived in Los Angeles as just another anonymous immigrant with a dream. Early on, he perceived jobs are always available for big and ugly men, so he dedicated himself to becoming just that, big and ugly. Becoming a fixture at the famed Venice Beach Gold's Gym, Borga began cycling anabolic roids to enhance his 6' 3" frame and grew to 310 pounds. The world of celebrity loomed closer as Borga began to pay the bills serving as a bodyguard for famous musical acts, including Cheap Trick and Gene Simmons of Kiss. But it was infamous Coke aficionado Herb Abrams, promoter of a wrestling promotion called the UWF, who spotted Borga and introduced him to pro wrestling rings. Borga was packaged as the Viking and had his first pro wrestling matches in California in the fall of 1990. Though his work was stiff and unwatchable, his brute size was perfect for what audiences wanted at the time. His professional wrestling career had begun. Soon after his debut in the UWF, Borga would sign with New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is the biggest professional wrestling promotion in Japan. He would spend 2.5 years in the promotion and experience his first major push. Borga ascended up the card by teaming up with Scott Norton to become the IWGP Tag Team Champions. But in a pattern we would see over and over again with Borga, as soon as he experienced success, his belligerent personality introduced obstacles. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that Borga's push ended in New Japan Pro Wrestling when he sucker punched and brutalized Scott Norton in a very real street fight, knocking Norton unconscious. Anticipating the end of a violent real-life feud, New Japan Pro Wrestling punished Borga by having him job out more and more. Disappointed with this turn in his career, Borga would leave New Japan Pro Wrestling in June of 1993 and go on to sign with the WWE. He played a Finnish anti-American heel that terrorized a talent-deficient WWE roster back in 1993, cutting spiteful promos, declaring America's urban centers are in a decrepit state. Ludvig Borga was a foil to patriotism. Naturally, he feuded with super patriot Lex Luger and proud Native American Tatanka, even ending the latter's unbeaten streak. But a shocking revelation proved Borga wasn't merely playing an evil foreigner, he was living the gimmick to a grotesque degree. Jim Ross recalled on his podcast Grilling JR, Borga was wearing boots that were low cut, and he had a very diminutive SS tattoo. It wasn't huge, but it was there. It was very uncomfortable. For those who don't know, the SS was a paramilitary organization under the famous German dictator and the Nazi Party in Germany, active from 1925 to 1945. They were responsible for managing concentration and extermination camps, orchestrated mass murders during the Holocaust, and committed various war crimes. Ludvig Borga had their symbol tattooed on his body, indicating he was an open racist and a homophobe, something that would become far more apparent as the years went by. Notably, being a real-life neo-Nazi wasn't enough for Borga to get immediately fired from the WWE. Rather, the promotion would cover the tattoo with tape and have Ludvig Borga wear larger boots. After working less than a year, Borga would be fired from the WWE due to breaking his ankle severely. Though early in his career, Borga had already amassed a litany of injuries as he fortified a growing drug dependency. He said this regarding his drug usage. I didn't survive those gigs without painkillers. In the morning, I took a jar of ephedrine in order to wake up, took ephedrine again with painkillers before the match, and took ephedrine and painkillers again to be able to drive or sleep. Pro wrestling is always the devil's bargain. A pound of flesh for the bright lights of fame. Borga's career was precisely that exchange. The injuries and drugs were the prices Borga paid to have pro wrestling pluck him out of obscurity. Though awash in injuries and addicted to pills, Ludvig Borga's professional wrestling career established his celebrity status in his home country of Finland. Back home, he landed a spot on the Finnish version of American Gladiators, performing as Vikinki, which translates to the Viking, from 1993 to 1995. He would even dabble in acting, appearing in Die Hard with a Vengeance, though his days in the United States were officially over. Not through with pro wrestling, Borga joined Europe's Catch Wrestling Association in 1995. He even continued using the Ludvig Borga gimmick, but as per his pattern, his run would end dubiously. His career in wrestling ended when he was charged with drug importations, sales, and manufacturing. He said that this was completely unfounded. It was not until February 1997, when he had already begun his career as a boxer, that all charges were dropped. Concurrently, he pursued professional boxing, becoming a two-time Finnish heavyweight champion. Considering Borga was an established celebrity in Finland with presumed drawing power, the legitimacy of these fights is questionable to say the least. His lone appearance in the UFC was unquestionably a debacle. Borga stated before his fight at UFC 13 with future MMA legend Randy Couture, "When I go to the octagon, I go there to kill or be killed. At first, I'll try and hit him as hard as I can. If I miss that point, I'll try headbutt him. If I miss that point, I'll rip his arms off and rip his legs off. I got balls of iron, and I go there to rip the head off or die trying." According to Couture's book, Becoming the Natural, My Life in and Out of the Cage. While watching this interview, Couture's mother found Borga's words so disturbing that she began to sob uncontrollably. Even more extreme, Borga's interview caused Couture's wife to vomit in a trash can. This was all talk, because in the bout, Borga would staggeringly submit to Couture in less than 1 minute. We thought that CM Punk had the worst wrestler turned UFC fighter story out there, but evidently not. In Borga's controversial 1998 biography, God Forgives, I Do Not, he would announce his homophobia and racism to the world. In one especially horrible passage about his time in prison, he details saying the following to a black prisoner. "Hey monkey, even if I am the fattest person in the world, I can always get skinny, but the skin does not turn white even when washed." These callous words seemed only to further foment his popularity among the right-wing circles in Finland. He would pen 3 more books, land acting roles, and would begin a musical career. His single, Vikinki, which translates to the Viking, went gold in Finland, meaning it sold more than 5,000 copies. Vikinki would even reach number 2 on the singles charts in 1999. One of the lyrics of Vikinki proudly proclaims his homophobia. This is what he said in the song. And Borga did indeed have Exit Only tattooed on his buttocks. Because of his burgeoning fame among right-wing circles, he lassoed his horrible momentum and propelled his career toward a new arena, which was politics. Borga's celebrity and unrepentant views would attract him to the far-right True Finns party. Under this party's banner, Borga was elected to Finland's parliament in March of 2003. He captured 16,390 votes in the Helsinki constituency, a number of Finnish media would describe as staggering. The day after his victory, he said in a radio interview, "If a lesbian can be elected president, then why can't I be elected to parliament?" After immediate media backlash, Borga responded by saying he truly thought the Finnish president was a lesbian, even though she was married to a man, so he didn't mean the comment as an insult. 4 months after being elected to parliament, Borga's life appeared ideal. He was enjoying political success, continued fame, and even contemplated a run for president. But the summer of 2003 would begin Borga's inexorable plunge into darkness. It all began on the night of Thursday, July 3, 2003, when Borga combined heavy drinking with taking massive quantities of amphetamines. He was suspected by onlookers of driving drunk to his apartment in Helsinki. When he arrived home, he and his wife Katja began an argument that would last into the early morning. At 7 AM on July 4, apartment residents heard the sound of a pistol firing in Borga's apartment. Police would later confirm that Ludvig had pulled the trigger. It is thought that he was trying to murder his wife, but thankfully no one was hit by the bullet. After the gunshot, Ludvig and his wife Katja's argument escalated, prompting the police to surround the couple's apartment. Eventually, an ambulance would arrive at 10 AM and haul Ludvig away to a hospital. While hospitalized, he slipped into a coma that would last 3 weeks. Borga's election manager would speculate that the lack of oxygen from the amphetamine and alcohol overdose caused permanent brain damage in him, and said that Borga was never the same afterwards. The police investigated the incident, finding an unmarked military pistol, ammunition, and thousands of pills and vials of drugs, including anabolic roids in Borga's apartment. According to the Associated Press, Borga would be charged with 6 different crimes, including drunk driving, the illegal possession of imported drugs, amphetamine usage, and owning an unlicensed pistol. All but the drunk driving charge would stick. Borga faced a 4-month prison sentence. Parliament discussed ousting him, but opted not to due to the lengthy procedural process. His subsequent legal appeals failed to overturn the sentence. For a politician whose messaging focused on strengthening the law and order and demanding tighter controls on drugs, he especially looked like a hypocrite. Strangely, despite his 4-month prison sentence, Borga was still elected to the Helsinki Council in the fall of 2004. His wife Katja would be granted a divorce in 2005. She would later reveal in a tell-all biography, Ludvig threatened to murder her with an axe. When not in prison, Borga fueled further controversy by beating up a guy at a hamburger stand. In this case, charges were not filed. In February of 2006, Borga faced a new charge of drunk driving. He was admitted into a psychiatric ward in order to seek treatment for his addictions. He would remain in treatment for 3 months. After his treatment ended, he would get convicted for the earlier drunk driving episode and sentenced to 80 days in prison. In court, he claimed he had neurological problems stemming from his 2003 incident. He said that he commonly seemed drunk and now had obstructed speech. At the end of 2006, Borga would officially declare he would not seek re-election to the parliament. In 2007, he would be granted a disability pension, which caused bad blood between him and other members of parliament. After a few filing snafus, he would resign from the Helsinki Council due to illness as well. His political career was over at this point, but he was now collecting a nice pension check. He had all the free time in the world, but his mind was not in the right place and he was sinking deeper and deeper into the abyss. He spent his newfound free time by falling over in a sauna and needing 20 stitches in his nose, then falling over again and crushing his face in Thailand, and also dating erotic dancer Johanna Tukiainen. This girl that he dated rose to prominence in Finland via a scandal with Finland's foreign minister, and she sold screenshots of this thing to a Finnish magazine. His relationship with her managed to damage his reputation even more. In October of 2009, he was again charged with drunk driving. He was drug tested and the results returned positive for coke and amphetamines. The police searched his house and found an illegal Luger pistol along with 109mm rounds of ammunition. After this latest charge, Borga's tell-all interview with Finnish magazine Haimai was published. In it, he detailed he was suffering from liver cirrhosis and that because of his brain damage, he had trouble speaking and walking and even needed sticky notes to help him remember do household chores. Despite all that, he said this: "Alcohol makes me feel good. Drugs, on the other hand, momentarily help with depression, which is why they are so dangerous." Borga's life was out of control and there was a ticking time bomb on his life. The demons that have plagued him throughout his life were too much for him, and so he decided that it would be much better to let the demons win than to fight for his own life and sanity. So on January 8, 2010, Ludvig Borga took his own life with a Glock and ended one of the most unusual lives ever associated with the squared circle. Two days would pass before his body was discovered. Upon hearing the news, Borga's ex-wife Katja wondered if something was wrong with her when she didn't mourn. Though it's human nature to feel uneasy about passing judgment upon the dead, the story of Borga's extreme life invites moral scrutiny from us all. His story is a stark reminder that beneath the surface of fame and success, there can be deep-seated struggles and personal demons. Borga's life was filled with achievements and accolades, but also marred by controversies, addictions, and a tragic end. Ludvig Borga arrived a few years in the WWE before China. If you want to see a video on the tragic story of China, check out the video on screen now. Thank you for watching.